a Noble Media Group member.
The world is very different now, for man holds in his mortal hands the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life.
6,000 years ago, man invented the wheel. 5,000 years later, he invented the printing press. 460 years later, he would fly. 70 years later, he would step on the moon. And 8 years later, he would send a spacecraft beyond our solar system. Today, we have computers which can think for themselves and robots that can dance. Properly utilized, today's technologies can bring an end to poverty, hunger, and even the need to work, or to make bombs that will end all life on Earth. Will we destroy ourselves or come together?
It is now 85 seconds to midnight. This is the closest the world has ever been to midnight.
Join Joe Carvin as he explores these questions, because mankind is on the hinge of history.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hinge of History. This is Brian Mistro. I'm here with Joe Carvin, and I don't know where you're watching, if it's X or YouTube or Facebook or where it is now, but we are now going live on multiple platforms. And so leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. We'll reply back to you. And welcome. Joe, good to see you again, my friend.
Nice to see you, Brian. Hope you had a nice weekend.
I did. Thank you. So I got a slide I'd like to share with you, Joe, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
It's something I saw, and this was just released an hour ago, maybe 2 hours ago.
Okay.
So this is literally hot off the press.
Yep.
But I'd like to get your take on it because I don't understand why they're doing this. So let me share the slide for those that are just listening and not watching. It says, just in, Trump officials are reportedly weighing blocking U.S. access to top Chinese AI models. Why?
Because what happened, we had a huge deep seek moment last week with the new Chinese open source model called Kimi 3. So basically, what's happening is the Chinese are able to produce very competitive open source models. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between open source and closed source. Open source models available to the whole world.
Okay.
I was listening to the Peter Diamandis podcast because they held a impromptu special meeting to discuss this. You know, he brings a number of smart futurists together. And one of the comments was that while the expectation was Anthropic would have a initial $1 trillion valuation when they go to market in the fall, he said now they'll be lucky to have 250 billion, a 75% drop.
Whoa.
And basically, again, so the difference between open source and closed source is you have to basically pay for closed source models and you have to pay for a premium. Versus open source, they're free to everybody, open to the world. So there's certain advantages with the open source model. Again, everybody can use them, so they promote innovation. They're far lower cost, and they accelerate innovation. On the closed source models, the frontier models, you get state-of-the-art performance, zero infrastructure overhead, and centralized safety and guardrails. So there's basically the whole U.S. model. All the U.S. models are built on the closed frontier models with these gazillion-dollar companies, and the Chinese are going with these open source models. Now, if these open source models can compete with our top frontier models, dramatic drop in value. But there's an even more important point, and actually we should go to the video. If you go to the video, it'll all become clear to you when we watch this video.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that.
Basically, what's happening? China wants the world to adopt its AI models, and the U.S. and Trump want the world to adopt our AI models, our infrastructure. And you're going to see in a second, there's two very different models with two different sets of competitive advantages. So let's take a look at the video.
Let's do it.
AI is a five-layer cake. Let's just always simplify. It's not quite this simplistic, but let's simplify AI into a five-layer cake. Energy, chips, infrastructure, models, and applications. Okay? Socially, we need to be careful. At the lowest level, energy, China has twice the amount of energy we have as a nation.
I want to ask about
Twice as much energy as we have as a nation, and our economy is larger than theirs. Number two, chips. We're generations ahead. We are generations ahead on chips, and I think everybody recognizes that. Number three, infrastructure. If you want to build a data center here in the United States, from breaking ground to standing up a AI supercomputer is probably about 3 years. They can build a hospital in a weekend. That's a real challenge.
this great competition with China. I mean,
The model layer, United States frontier models, our frontier models are unquestionably world class. We are probably, call it 6 months ahead. However, out of the 1.4 million models, most of them are open source. China is well ahead, way ahead on open source. It's going way up. I've got all these exponentials. The model and the application layer. So using these AI researchers, all of these incredible computer scientists that they have, their richness of software capability, and they're going to go build their own complete stack. Once they build that entire complete stack, they'll export it as quickly as you could imagine. And this is the world of what we will find someday if we don't activate.
we'll be buyers, not sellers.
That's right. So now, at the energy level, President Trump sticking his neck out and taking it on the chin and helping the country realize that energy is necessary for our growth is one of one of the greatest things he's done right off the bat. And so we are singular in the world. We are absolutely singular. I committed to my customers, my partners, that we're going to build in this administration within President Trump's term, $500 billion of AI supercomputers. And so that's the second part. Tremendously. Okay? You want to get a bowl of beef noodle soup, you're gonna do just fine.
So it takes the United States 3 years to break ground and build an AI center, and it takes China a weekend to build a hospital.
You got it right there, baby. I think that says it all. I think that says it all.
Oh my goodness. And I hate to say it like this, but it sounds to me like we could be losing or in the potential to lose the AI race if we can't. I mean, the only thing that we've got going for us right now that I could see from that video would be our chips, which he said are generations ahead of what the Chinese are doing.
So, well, in fact, I think it's worth going through the 5 layers because this is, the basics and the fundamentals for everybody. And just to remind them, again, as Jensen Huang did, so the first layer is energy.
Mm-hmm.
They're the Chinese, Chinese produce, I was shocked. I just confirmed the number. The Chinese produce twice as much electricity as we do. On a smaller economy. It's crazy, 10,500. And in addition to that, they basically control 70 to 85% of solar production.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So huge competitive advantage there on that first level energy. Second level, as you point out, we have a huge competitive advantage in chips. And partly that owes to the fact that we're also prohibiting the export of certain types of chips to China, if you remember,
right.
to maintain our lead.
That's right.
The third one is infrastructure. Now, you and I, Brian, are big advocates of good government. And look, at the end of the day, democracy's messy. If you want to put up a bridge across the Hudson River, you got New Jersey, New York, local municipalities, you have all levels of government intervening and opining. I'll never forget, I used to visit China and I visited an iron ore company from Brazil. And I was sitting with the guy and he said, it used to take me 6 hours to drive from here to my plant. He said, now it takes 45 minutes because They want the highway. They put it in. So I mean, obviously, and look, the fundamental question is how do we? I think the real question for the United States, how do we make our democracy more efficient?
Right.
And the second thing is, I was just listening to the speech that President Xi gave to the Shanghai AI conference last week that we'll talk about, but they're about to implement their 15th five-year plan.
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of five-year plans. I don't know why we shouldn't have a five-year plan here in the United States. It's zero capacity to cohere strategy over time. In fact, again, when I was sitting in China, they said, in China, we have 75% consensus on how to move forward. You can believe that or not, I don't know. And of course, they don't have democracy in China. So you guys have democracy, so the 51% wins. They put in place their programs. And then 4 years later, the other 51%. So we really, if you look at foreign policy, strategy, we are all over the place. So it would be nice to build consensus potentially around a five-year plan. So then the fourth level, I thought as I remember, I thought he was a bit more, he gave us the nod on models because there are frontier models like Anthropic and ChatGPT and Claude. But last week, that's why he's thinking of putting in place tariffs. Last week, this open source model that is far less expensive, no, you don't have to pay for, it was all launched into the United States and somehow was discovered. So as part of this AI conference, Kimmy 3 hit our shores. And again, at zero cost, why would you pay a lot of money for the Anthropic model if you can get this one for free?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then finally, applications. I think he gives us a little bit of a edge on applications. But again, the one thing is, China's probably graduated, 4 or 5 times more engineers than we are, just given the size of their population. And what was the interesting thing is, so which AI stack are you going to go for? Are you going to go for the Chinese AI stack or the US AI stack? And I am going, well, let's talk about this for a minute now, but I do want to talk about situational awareness and President Xi's speech to the world that was given last week to the Shanghai AI conference.
Well,
But before we go that, I mean, again, I would be horribly disappointed if the U.S. prohibits only because it means we can't compete.
Yeah. No, it begs the question that even if we, block it internally, there's, what is it, 293 other countries out there, right? And so
193, yeah. 193, yeah.
193 countries out there. So, it makes you wonder, even if we do it, we're not the planet. There's other countries, and if they're going to get something for free versus have to pay for it, which one are they going to do? Now, the question I was going to ask you is it an equal product? Is their product as good as the U.S. product?
I'm not the technician. Well, but what I can tell you, and this is why Peter Diamandis and his team did this quick. Again, there's all these AI tests out there, and apparently it came in superior on all the AI tests than anybody else. So again, it's not the 100% quality, and I'm sure there's some nuances there. And I know Kathy Wood had something out today talking about that. But in terms of the bog standard AI tests that were out there, they achieved a higher score than anybody else. So at a minimum, it's competitive. I'm not the technician that can figure out the nuances, right? But certainly it's scary. But in fact, I want to begin to introduce this concept we've talked a little bit about, which is situational awareness. There's a guy named Leopold Aschenbrenner. He's a German citizen, went to Columbia University, graduated valedictorian at the age of 19, and went to work for OpenAI. However, he made a determination that OpenAI was not being as prudent as they should be relative to safety, AI safety. So I think what happened was he certainly got fired. I think what have happened is he was trying to it was trying to let people know that they weren't as but ultimately he wrote this essay once he left in June 2024, and he explained that no one outside of a few people in San Francisco in June 2024 understood this AI movement. That's when I started to write my book.
Hmm.
Everybody's now talking AI, right?
Yeah.
But think back 2 years ago, no one really was other than a few people in San Francisco.
Right.
And he said, we need situational awareness. You need to understand the dramatic advances in technology coming our way. I think a lot of people are talking about it. Still, the conversation is not very well informed, which is why we do this show. But at the end of the day, we talked about last week, $7.6 trillion investment in AI compute, reinforced by quantum computing, reinforced by AGI. Our world will be fundamentally transformed by the year 2035,
Yeah. Yeah.
a little bit later.
Yeah, and I'm
So,
just going to throw in there too from that
please.
video that he's going to throw in. I'm sorry, his name just.
Jensen Huang, yep.
Yeah, he's going to invest and made a commitment to invest $500 billion in the United States over the next 2 years, right?
Yes.
By the end of
Yeah.
his administration. So there's a truckload of money and investment going into this stuff. Huge.
Correct. And so, and this is the other part of the situational awareness is the geopolitical situation where it's because, and that's where that video said Jensen Huang sets up. You have two stacks.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Chinese AI stack, and then you have the US AI stack. Now I have to say, I'm going to quote from last week's speech from President Xi to the world at the Shanghai AI conference. And Brian, you tell me where third parties are going to go. So he talked about 4 observations. First, we should adhere to the principle of openness and win-win and boost innovation-driven development. Now, that's an argument for these open source models.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right?
which you were just saying, by the way. Yeah.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And he talks about facilitating technological innovation, industrial development, scenario-based application of AI. So that's his first point. The second point is we should strengthen risk awareness and ensure that AI is secure and controllable. Now, we've been talking about here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Rare do you have an industry that's begging to be regulated. So
Yep.
again, a really, really important point. Third, we should encourage inclusiveness and promote mutual learning between civilizations. When did he become the head of One World? I thought I was the head of One World. But basically, he's saying, look, this is a huge economic motor for humanity. So we need to promote inclusiveness and civilizational coordination, right? Mutual learning amongst AI development, its application should not erode or undermine the diversity of world civilizations or the uniqueness of cultures of different countries. It must shape the values of AI with humanity's common values and make good use of AI technologies to increase understanding, tolerance, exchanges, and sharing among all civilizations. Well, that he's my number one worlder. Right? I mean, well, goodness.
Well, I want to just comment on that for a second because aren't they the
Please.
same country that restricts what information their citizens can read through the internet? So, I mean, let's level set that just a little bit because.
Oh, no. Again, and this is look again. Right now, we're sharing the conversation, their speech. And I got a couple more points, and then
Yeah,
I definitely
please.
want to
Yeah.
discuss them. But yes,
Yeah, please.
100% what you're saying, and we have to level set the conversation. Fourth, we should advocate solidarity and improve global governance. Now, again, the whole reason for One World is to improve global governance. Now,
Yeah.
if I were President Trump, I'd hit the bid. Perfect. Let me hit you on all 4. I'd hit the bid. In all honesty, my fervent hope is that President Trump went to China to achieve agreement on AI governance going forward. President Xi's coming to the United States later this year. My hope would be that we can improve AI governance. All these things are common sense proposals. Now, as you're right to point out, what are those human values that we can agree on across the board? We certainly have a very different set of values
Hmm.
as it relates to the free enterprise system and those as
Yeah.
democracy.
Yeah.
But ultimately, but if I were president, I hit Trump, I'd hit the bid right away. And ultimately, he finishes by saying, again, very nice words. We often say in China, a single string cannot make music, and a single tree does not make a forest. AI development should not be a solo performance by a single country, but a symphony of
Mm.
international cooperation. And again, now he's making his appeal to the global South. This is a major move by China to answer the call of the global South and unite the international community together to promote the vigorously AI development in governments. It'll be an important milestone in the history of AI development. So, and he basically says over the next 5 years, China will be providing developing countries with 5,000 opportunities in AI training and programs. So,
Mm.
very clearly, I think the Jensen Wong video tees this up very nicely. He's trying to sell his AI stack to the
Yeah.
rest of the world. Well, we can agree there's a huge competition between the frontier models in the US and closed versus the open source. China has a number of significant comparative advantages, like we talked about: infrastructure, capacity to build a hospital in a weekend rather than 7 years. And now you tell me, Brian, you're sitting in Brazil, you're sitting in Kenya. Which way are you going to go?
I mean, if you're sitting in Brazil or you're sitting in Kenya, I can tell you right now, you're going to go with the cheap model, the open AI. That, I mean, that's I don't see the scenario of why you wouldn't, because somebody would have to now if it's an equal product. Okay, so
Right.
that's the big if that we have to qualify or quantify.
Well, and again,
But
look. So look, but we're completely apolitical. And again, if I were President Tip, I'd hit the bid, call his bluff, if you will.
right,
But at the end of the day, could you see President Trump giving that speech?
no, no, and again,
And
we
so
won't get
third
political on it,
parties
but no,
watching this, I think he could, but ultimately, you know, that has not been his approach to AI. In fact, his whole approach to AI is ensuring that U.S. companies win
yeah,
and trying to create a playing field where U.S. companies win. I'm not sure if that strategy is going to work. I'm not sure if that strategy is going to work. I think what the name of the program, and I'm taking the glasses off for this one.
okay,
The name of the program is The Hinge of History. In fact, actually, last week we'll talk more about this in a future show. What was the AI summit last week in the United States? It was in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, on innovation and military usage. Innovation and military usage. Man, I was watching those guys. I don't see how it works. And look, the response, China is also using military and AI. I'm not trying to draw a
yeah,
distinction,
yeah, yeah,
but certainly the conversation that is going out to the world. One guy's talking about inclusiveness, cross-cultural communication. The other guy's saying the United States has to win. Our guys need to win. We're going to block them from coming in, right? And oh, by the way, we're going to make sure our military is number one in the world, so we can we can have soldier robots. That's not the prescription for success. I'm sorry, it's just not.
no, no, no. I completely agree with you, and you know that the reality is that we can't look at this through just U.S. eyes because as we were brought up and we're level setting this, you know, other countries are going to look and say what's best for us. And in general, they're going to do what's going to be the cheapest. So if you're tilting the scales, and you're a finance economics person,
Yep.
so I'm just going to say this: if you're putting your thumb on the scales, especially in a competitive type of market, are you truly being competitive anymore? And so
Well,
I don't believe
more
China's
thing.
going to
I'm
follow
going to add
through with
one
what they
more
said.
point that's a little bit political. Uh, uh, but I've been surprised at how my European friends have been, prior to the World Cup at least, have been turned off by the United States and U.S. policy. In other words, I completely agree. Europe's got to pay their fair share, and for 50 years we carried them. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
But they really responded negatively to our, attempt to grab Greenland.
Well, who wouldn't? Right.
So again, you know, so ultimately, I think in this AI. So look, if civilization's clearly at a crossroads, if I was President Trump, I'd hit the bid. I'd hit one. I'd say I'd organize an immediate summit with President Xi. I'd put in place regulation, right? I would try and promote global economic development, and I would let's join stacks. Let's join stacks for the betterment of the whole, for the China, the United States, and the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
I would hit the bid. I really would. I'd hit that bid. I'd say, let's go for it. One conference in Shanghai, one conference in New York or Las Vegas, wherever it's going to be. We'll rotate every year. And ultimately, let's build let's get a 5-year plan. Here we go. 5-year plan for humanity. And we'll match your 5,000 seminars and go one more.
Well, so I'm still trying. I know we're out of time, but
Yep,
I'm
yep.
still trying to understand. And I'd mean no offense to the folks that are watching this that are Asian or whatever, but why is she saying what he's saying?
Oh,
There's a catch there somewhere, and I don't know if my first immediate thought was he wants easier access to our chips. That was my immediate first thought.
you
Otherwise,
know,
why is he doing this?
I know. I look. We were. Uh, no, I think what's clear to me is what Jensen Wong said. You have two stacks. I mean, Eric Schmidt and Henry Kissinger wrote a book on this, and we've been a couple months ahead of China, depending on the metric. China's going to catch up.
Yeah.
First of all, they don't have a messy democracy. Second of all, it's part of their 5 years. Now they're going to have another 5-year plan. Third of all, I can tell you, I think we talked about this in the past. I went to give a talk on AI in China at a principals conference. You know what? I used to have a buddy of mine, he had 3 investment levels: long, longer, and longest. China's long, long, and long. And yeah, we're all in on AI. All in from kindergarten right on. I saw a U.S. educator get up and say, you know what? In our district, we have crawl, walk, and run. We're going to crawl till we figure this out. You heard we talked last time, Kathy Hochul.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Put a ban on it. No. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to get your behind kicked.
Yeah.
If the United States does not wake up, China's not only going to catch up, they're going to surpass. And so we have a technological advantage, but we don't have they have the 5 last. I think the 5-layer cake is so important. And ultimately, our free enterprise system is working well, but we need to, I think, cohere our free enterprise system, unite as a country, and ultimately unite as a world. I'd hit the Xi bid. Every one of those things, I say, President Xi, thank you for your talk. Let's set up a summit to make each one of those things happen across the globe.
Call his bluff. Call his bluff. So I'll just leave with this, and help me with the name of the satellite. But it was what, 1960, 1961 or two or whatever it was, and I think I'm too far out. But the Russians sent up a satellite. Was it the Soyuz? Was that the name of it?
Yep.
That everybody in America could walk outside, stare up at the stars, and watch the deet, 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 deet as it goes by. And that set off a space race where the country united, our allies united, and we realized that we need to come together and not only be a part of the space race but win it. And it may take something like that. I don't know, but
Okay, Brian, I'm gonna put my one world hat on.
okay.
I think spaceship Earth is too small these days. I think it can't be. You don't win. I don't think you win this race. I think China and the United States need to find ways to make each other better. I think we need to find ways to help Chinese society evolve. I think the clear model for me is Singapore or Taiwan.
Mm.
And I think they need to help us evolve, right? And so I think ultimately, I think we need to China. My fervent goal, and I'm going to commit to learn Chinese. My fervent goal is to bring the United States and China together. And Eric
I
Schmidt
would
talks
love
about
that.
yeah. Eric Schmidt talks about competition. Let's compete. Let's compete and collaborate, but then no conflict. The conflict's no game over. There's no winners.
Yeah.
And by the way, just to be 1,000% clear, we believe in radical abundance and the potential for radical abundance.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you can have bad actors anywhere in the world. They're going to be all powerful. So clearly, we're going to need to find ways to cooperate across the globe to ensure that the AI follows our values. The technology tells us a 15, 20% that AI take over. So we're all losers. If AI takes over, we all lose. So we want to reduce those chances.
Yeah.
Agree some kind of human values. Let's get some human values we can all agree on.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful, and I hope that's what happens. But I've always been a little bit skeptical about that, as you know. Healthy skeptical, but a little skeptical. Everybody, I know we ran over a little bit. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. If you're watching it on YouTube, go to YouTube. It's at No Bull Media Group. Like it, subscribe, leave a question. Joe and I will talk about it. If you're watching this on X, follow our channel, follow what we're doing on X, and leave a question. Joe and I will respond to it. And if you're watching on a different social media platform, again, leave a comment, follow us, and we'll bring it up. We will not have a show this next Wednesday. Joe will be traveling, but we should be right back at it. I think this next Monday after that. Isn't that right, Joe? Okay.
Yes, exactly right. Yep.
Yes. So thank you again for joining us. It's comment about what you think. If I'm right or Joe's right or we're both right or we're both wrong, I'd love to hear it actually. So leave us your thoughts. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again on the Hinge of History this next Monday. Take care.
Thanks, Brian.
You've been watching Joe Carvin's Hinge of History. The No Bull Media Group is available on all major social media platforms. Make sure to give us a follow where you can watch this show and many others.
A No Bull Media Group member.